Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to playoff week. We've waited all season, 82 games, Joel Embiid with probably one of the most historic seasons in NBA history, unfortunately cut short by by missing like so many games. So we waited all season for this. So we got Sixers with the play-in on Wednesday night. We got the Flyers possibly, with hey, I wish I could do the Jim Mora voice, guys, but the Flyers still have a chance for the playoffs. So
Playoffs?
yeah,
Fucking
so
playoffs?
hopefully the Flyers get some help tonight. I think they need a Pittsburgh loss, they need a Detroit loss, and then tomorrow night's game would be basically a playoff game versus Washington. And then we'll get into a little bit of Philly. Phillies are kind of early. Maybe we'll get a little bit into them, up and down weekend. And of course, we're 10 days from the draft. So we're going to get into all this. But we're going to start off with the Sixers. And we have special guest, Sixers insider Sean Bernard. You could catch him on Fox Gambler. He's the founder of Pick Swap Media. And he's also, does a great job. I see him everywhere. So let's start off with some Sixers here. Let me invite Sean on here. Hey, Sean, how you doing, man?
Doing well. What's going on, guys? It's been a little bit, so I appreciate you having me back on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Absolutely. Best time of year, so I'm hyped up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, because the NBA season is such a marathon, and you have so many games with guys with load management or injuries. But I'll tell you what, I feel like they got it. Like there's more parity in this NBA right now than I can remember in years. I mean, I go back. I started watching ball 86, 87. So I go back a little bit to and back then. It was basically, you knew pretty much it was going to be Boston versus LA, or it was going to be Detroit versus LA. You know what I mean? And right now, I mean, you can make an argument for a lot of these teams to go on a run. What's your thoughts? I mean, we'll get into the Sixers, but Sean, what's your thoughts just basically about just the NBA in general? I mean, this parity.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of part of that is paving the way, like injuries. Like, for example, the Sixers, with Joel Embiid missing a period of time, the Sixers went from a team that if he had played out the length of the season with him in every game, they would have been on pace for the 1 seed, potentially the 2 seed, right neck and neck with Boston. Obviously, they fell down and struggled without him. They're a significantly different team without him on the floor. And now we see them scrapping out from the play-in tournament. And they're a team that even sitting at that 7 seed right now hold the second best odds of winning the Eastern Conference. So that's kind of the chance that it creates. And if you want to look over to the West, a team like the Los Angeles Lakers, who are fighting out of that playing game, and if they see the Oklahoma City Thunder first round, I could very much see that being an upset. So even a matchup like the Mavericks and Suns, that's going to be a matchup where it could go either way. So the seedings almost don't matter nearly as much for this year's playoffs. It's kind of cool how has all shaken out. I think it's going to be an awesome playoffs. I think you can make an argument for a lot of teams making the deep run. Feels like we're destined to see a couple surprises. So I think this is going to be a really good one this year. And it's been a fun year for the NBA in general.
Yeah. I mean, and just to touch on the Sixers, I mean, if you look at their record with Embiid, well, I forget the exact number. What was it, about 32-8 or 33-8?
Yeah, 31-8. So
okay.
Best percentage in the league if you want to take just that number.
Wow. Yeah. So as scary as Boston is, I mean, if you extrapolate that number over 82, I mean, the Sixers are on par right up there with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, these are kind of the give and take that you have with Joel Embiid. And I understand the frustrations because we're never going to see an 82-game season out of this guy in all likelihood. But you know what? You take the peaks because they are so high. And that's kind of what we're banking on for this specific playoff run, is how much his body can hold up for the foreseeable future, for this 2-month stretch of playoff games. We'll see. That is still to be determined. But the peaks of the way he's playing, and to his credit, I think he's added layers that make it possible for it to hold up better. I think he's become a way better playmaker this year. I think there's a lot of moments where him being so reliant on his mid-range game has saved his body from having to drop into the post, take the beating that takes, attacking the rim, getting fouled as much as he typically does. He's aware of it in the same way that obviously we all are. So it is frustrating, the injury concerns that come with it, but it's still worth living with because of what a special talent he is, and that when he does bring it to the full extent, the level that he can carry this team.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking that the other night, like Diego and I were talking about it at work, and we both were saying how we see the Sixers can make this run, and then we're like, oh well, let's see if Embiid can make a few games, and then Friday night comes, they get off to a big lead in the first quarter, everything's looking great, and then you're like, oh my God, here it is. You know what I mean? It's the such as the dilemma the dilemma of having Joel Embiid. I mean, the guy's the most dominant force in the league, but you just never know if you're ever going to have him.
Yeah, and that is the frustrating part. As far as his outlook for now, it sounds like things will be all go on Wednesday, that he'll be fully fine. He was kept out of yesterday's game more so from a precautionary reason, is what the Sixers are saying. We all know the track record for these Sixers as far as injury reports and doctors and all those things, so you can take that as you will. But the bottom line is I do expect this guy to be fully on the floor. And even Joel Embiid at 75% or 80% or 60%, whatever he is at, is still better than just about every other player in the league. That's such a small short list of players as far as the impact that he can make. And even if it's not him going off for 40 points or whatever that we've seen from him, just his impact as far as defensively changing the picture for teams, being the threat offensively, those are all things that open up the game in different ways that just having them on the floor, there's value to. So I'm still pretty optimistic. I will be watching like a hawk, kind of tuned in on how he is moving, because that was one of the things that impressed me when he first came back, that I did see like a spryness in his ability, that he looked thin, he looked like he was moving well, the side to side was really impressive, and then not so much in that second half of that Magic game after he did re-injure it or pick up a little tweak or whatever it is. So I think we'll be able to have a pretty good feel for what his level is at in the first couple minutes of that game. That definitely impacts the ceiling of the Sixers team and how far they can go in this playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, I think we all know what we need out of Embiid, what we need out of Maxey, what we need out of Oubre to win. Personally, I think the key player for us to have a far run in the into the NBA Finals is Buddy Hield. Can you speak a little bit how important Buddy Hield's role is going to be during this playoff run and what we need out of him?
Yeah, definitely. I love Buddy Hield. He's a guy that's been one of those theoretical Sixers players forever that we've been pounding the table trying to trade for him. I've been a little underwhelmed by him during his time here so far, which has been frustrating. He had that awesome start, those first 4 games where he was unbelievable, doing a ton more than just catch and shoot and putting the ball on the floor. It felt like he struggled more so than anybody as far as finding this balance for when to attack. I think personally my frustrations and what I've been surprised in his game is there's really not a lot of athletic pop for him putting the ball on the floor, getting past guys. He's essentially a catch and shoot kind of threat, but that's still very valuable. And especially with a team that needs shooting around Joel Embiid, we probably saw his best game since those first 4 in yesterday's game against the Nets. He kind of caught fire, hit 3 straight 3-pointers, and really turned the full momentum of the game, particularly against a team like the Heat. I think he's going to be immensely valuable because they do throw a ton of zone in there, switch up their defensive formations. And he's going to be kind of one of those weapons that Nick Nurse has in his back pocket where a certain matchup is going to be, okay, we need Buddy Hield to open up this game. And he truly is one of the most elite shooters really in this era of NBA, that when you think about the combination of volume and efficiency, he's a real deal sniper. So I'm very excited. This will be his first opportunity to be in the playoffs as well. So kind of cool for him to get this opportunity. He seems hungry about it. So I'm optimistic. It hasn't been perfect so far, but he's definitely an X factor for this team.
Yeah, I agree. In the playoffs, there's always them couple games where your stars don't show up 100%, and you need that guy to hit like 6, 7 threes. I like to think back to last year, like Max Strus would do that for Miami when Butler went a little cold or Bam went a little cold. Strus would hit big three after big three, and he'd keep them in games. And I feel like when Embiid's struggling a little bit and Maxey is struggling a little bit, he needs to hit them big shots to keep us in games at some points.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see how all these teams, and we'll start with Miami because it's the most pressing, kind of choose to match up with the Sixers team. I think in a lot of cases with the Sixers team, that teams have taken the route of, we're not going to let Joel Embiid beat us because we don't believe the other guys can, that we're going to throw 2 and 3 guys at him. And Embiid catches a lot of criticism for his numbers going down, but a lot of that is just because that's how teams defend him. I am more optimistic about this specific team because there are the Buddy Hields, the Kyle Lowrys, the Kelly Oubres, Tyrese Maxey, guys that I do think can step up around him, but I do think that teams are going to force that to be the case for those guys to be capable. So it will be coming down to that, and we'll see if they're up for the challenge.
Do you think Crumble Cookie Tobias Harris is finally going to step up, not just one night, every night, moving forward?
To be honest, I think the better question there is what's the leash that Nick Nurse has on him? Because we've been very open and I guess pretty easy on Tobias Harris throughout his tenure here. He's been a guy like penciled in for 35 to 38 minutes on an every night basis. And if you just want to look at it on the production, there's no reason for that anymore. So I think my eye on that, I'm past the point of relying on Tobias Harris to be more than what we know he is to this point. He will have his handful of games where he does make an impact, where he is hitting his shots, making quick decisions. Because that's, again, the frustrating part about him is when we see the best version of him, you see why he could be a high-impact player. But it's just not that way on a night-to-night basis. Yeah. So really what I'm kind of keeping my eye out for is Nick Nurse. When are you willing to pull him off the court? Go with Nick Batum and Kelly Oubre as your two forwards rather than Tobias Harris, because we're past the point of worrying about feelings. He'll be a free agent at the end of the year. It's on Nick Nurse to put the best five out on this floor for whatever helps the Sixers have a chance to win.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a great point, because all these years, you had in the back of your mind, you were paying him all this money. Well, I mean, shoot, obviously we hope they beat the Heat, but theoretically he's two losses away from being a free agent. I mean, they could. I mean, I don't think they will. I think the percentages are very low, but they could, in theory, lose to Miami and lose on Friday night, and it's all over. So it's not, it's go time now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think like this is kind of two-sided at this point, that the Sixers are already you have seen enough of Tobias Harris at this point, and I think he's ready for a change of scenery as well. But that to me is kind of more the reason why this is the time to just cut back those minutes. I don't expect them to actually bench him. I think he'll be in the starting lineup from start to finish this playoff run, but it is that closing lineup that I have kind of my eye on. And my critique to Tobias Harris specifically has been like, there's not a defining skill that commands him to be on the floor. There's not one particular area that he's best at that helps this team. And when you're kind of rounding out a roster that you have your star in Joel Embiid, you have your co-star in Tyrese Maxey, the other three guys are built to maximize their skills. And Tobias, like nothing that he really does, he's very much a jack of all trades, master of none. Like I would rather a guy with like the athleticism of Kelly Oubre or the shooting of Buddy Hield or even the rebounding of a guy like Paul Reed or Nico Batum, who's a good catch and shooter, a good entry passer. It's about balancing out that roster. So that's kind of what I have my eye on. I'm very interested to see how that goes. The Tobias Harris experience, and to be honest, like I think he's played a lot of his worst basketball this year, but a lot of it has come at times where they couldn't really afford to bench him. That it was during these shorthanded stretches where Embiid was out, Maxey missing sometimes, other guys missing sometimes. So it's like they didn't really have the option to bench him at that point. Now's the time where it's go full force, where whatever the right call is, you make sure you make it.
Do you like this bench this year? The bench compared to last year?
I do. I'm frustrated about D'Anthony Melton's health and feel bad for him for a lot of reasons. On a personal level, that he's another guy that's an upcoming free agent. He's 25 years old, and it's kind of looking down the barrel of these back issues being fairly chronic. I'm not really optimistic about them getting back for this playoff run, or really kind of concerned for his long-term future as a basketball player. At the minimum, that cost him quite a bit of money. As I mentioned, he's a free agent, so feel bad from him in that standpoint. Covington, I also would have loved to have. So that's frustrating. He's hurt as well. But as far as the guys that are here, I do think Batum is going to be a guy that he's just an incredibly smart basketball player, makes all the right decisions, the best entry passer that we've seen next to Joel. So a great complimentary piece there. Kyle Lowry is going to be a guy that swings playoff games. He is a winner. He brings it on a night to night. And frankly, he's got far more left in the tank than I expected to this point. Buddy Hield, another one of those X factors, and Oubre has been straight up terrific for this team. So I'm very excited to see what he brings. So I do think this is a better bench unit than we've had in years past. And I think like each of these guys has more of a little X factor and ability to change the game in a way that like, even like if you compare them to like these Shake Miltons of the world or guys like that, felt like a little more predictable when going for the bench unit in years past. There's more ceiling in a lot of these guys who can take over a game in a different way, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah, speaking on Oubre, I mean, we brought him in to play a role, and he has easily become a key player in our offense. Not to play a role, to do everything, to bring a spark, to drop us 20 when we need him, to play defense. He makes a lot of mistakes, but we take the good with the bad with Oubre, and I feel like this offseason, it has to be a key to bring him back.
Yeah, I totally agree there. And it's been kind of cool to see like the progression of Oubre, that during years past, kind of the book on him is he's just not a winning player, that he's a guy that an empty calorie, empty stats kind of player. And I've seen the exact opposite this year, that like I think he took a real kind of slap in the face this past offseason where he averaged over 20 points per game with the Charlotte Hornets last year. And then there really was no market for him come free agent time, that he was the only player in the NBA to average over 20 points and to be on a veteran's minimum right now. So I think he took this year as a chance to kind of look himself in the mirror, rebuild his value. And to his credit, he's significantly outplayed that he's not just been one of these, shot hungry guys who's creating for himself. He's played team basketball. His playmaking, his assist rate's been higher than it's ever been. He's very good at kind of creating his own offense off the putback dunks, the baseline cuts, all the little things like that. And he brings it defensively far more than I expected. So I've been really impressed with that. And he's definitely carved out a significant role on his team. He's been awesome. And I do hope he's back next year for sure.
Yeah. I think you got to try to bring him back. I mean, even if you go quote unquote star hunting, I mean, hopefully they could go, if you have to, you can go over the cap and keep him. And it's funny because he has brought a lot. The only thing, like you said, though, sometimes he lacks awareness. Like the game against Orlando, I think he had like 3 fouls and he's out there like reaching in and jumping. I'm like, dude, come on, man. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you wish he would have a little bit more awareness, but I mean, I think they definitely got to keep him, like you said.
Yeah, and he's always good for kind of an unnecessary heat check or at a moment where you probably shouldn't. But from my personal opinion, he is a guy that like competes super hard, brings on both ends. So if you're doing that, I have a high tolerance for that kind of stuff. I appreciate like the way that he does leave it all on the floor, chases guys defensively. So if he keeps doing all those little things, I'll live with the occasional bad shot or kind of poor decision or a bad point, because he is not a perfect player by any means, but I do respect the way that he's kind of bringing it, competing for this team, and really has found a nice niche just next to the pieces around him.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's just assume they beat Miami. Let's just assume we move on. I mean, and that brings up a matchup with the Knicks. I feel like they beat the Knicks, although I'll tell you, I am a little concerned with some of the matchups because they could put Josh Hart again. Guys like Josh Hart might be able to maybe get a little physical with Maxey and stuff like that. And you have like OG against Oubre, stuff like that. But how far do you think this team can go? And what's your thoughts of that matchup?
Yeah, I give this team a really significant chance of breaking through that second round barrier this year. That I do think like the Joel Embiid injury is the biggest factor. But when you look at how things played out, I was very much hoping for the Bucks to get that 2 seed and it to be a Sixers Bucks first round for that, because I do think that Milwaukee team is leaking oil and going down at the wrong time. We know the Giannis injury, that his status is uncertain ahead of the series. And frankly, I think even with him, that this team's got a losing record under Doc Rivers, which to be honest is hard to do based on how much talent that team has. So Milwaukee's a team that they will be now facing the Pacers. But to start with the Knicks here, I have a great deal of respect for this Knicks team. They're good. They play hard. They're gritty. They're tough. But they're also a team that like, it takes everything to get every win. That they are a team that they're defensive minded. They have Jalen Brunson logging league high minutes. They got guys that are playing 40, 50 minutes every single game. And even Brunson, who I think is unbelievable, a guy that should be an all NBA player, it feels like every basket is so tough for him, that he's getting to the post, he's using his body, that to me, it feels like there's got to be a little bit of where they hit a wall from just a physical standpoint. And also like what does give me optimism for this specific matchup, again, I don't expect this team to roll over for it to be easy by any means, but I still think Joel Embiid's the best player on the floor, even with him not being at his best. And I think the gap between Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brunson is significantly smaller than the gap between Jalen Brunson and the Knicks' second best player. That like, I think it's probably OG Anunoby would be my pick there. And I think like Maxey has really climbed into a similar tier as Brunson, obviously not quite as good yet to this point, but in a way that the Knicks don't quite have that secondary attack. So I still feel good about this Sixers matchup, but it's definitely going to be a physical and grueling series.
Yeah, I definitely think Maxey and Brunson are closer than what we thought he would be. He would be at this point in his career. Maxey can stretch the floor with his long range shooting. I don't feel like Brunson has that to his game. Brunson has to get to the post. The way Brunson scores is a nice gritty style of play. He's a slower player. You know what I mean? He likes to get in the paint. He plays bigger than what he really is. Maxey's like your prototypical guard that you're looking for in this day and age. Someone who can shoot a 32-foot three-pointer. You're confident it's going in.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's impressed me the most about Maxey of late is it feels like he's finding this balance for when to pick his spots. When are the moments in the game where he needs to take over, where it is the Tyrese go on like a tear, to rip off 2 quick 3-pointers and a layup, and all of a sudden that's 8 quick points, which changed the entire game. That's something that, like, I think this year specifically, he's really added that just feel for the game when it's his time. And I think that's exactly what this Sixers team needs, because those little spurts absolutely change games. And Maxey is a guy that I fully believe is built for the moment, is going to be ready for the brightest lights. And I think a lot of the national media are going to fully find out how good this guy is, because I don't think he's received the attention that he deserves for how good he's been this season.
I agree.
Yeah, he's definitely going to get that, especially if Saturday and whenever game 2 is, whether it's Monday or Tuesday, if he's up there in MSG putting up 30, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I do believe he's built for it. That, like, this is a guy that I think is going to shine brightest when the lights are on him. And like, when we speak about the ideal Joel Embiid partner, that we've been through a lot at this point. We've seen the Ben Simmons era, the Jimmy Butler era, the James Harden era. But like, when you think about what's the best way to maximize Joel, number one is shooting and the spacing that provides, which Maxey absolutely provides. He's been top 5 in 3-point percentage the past 2 years. Dipped a little bit this year with the increase in volume and a lot of that having to create on his own. But the other part that is added to his game is, like, it is the true balance of being capable of blowing past a guy, getting downhill. Like, the 2-man actions that we were seeing between Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey before the injury was some really advanced stuff, and stuff that I think directly translates to the playoffs. Like, when you think about the success that, like, the Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray had, that's stuff that I see in the Embiid and Maxey kind of duo. And like, with James Harden last year, you can throw a bunch of numbers at me from the efficiency standpoint, and they're off the charts that it's tough to argue with, but it became so predictable that you knew what it was on a possession-by-possession basis, that it was the pick and roll. It was Harden getting the switch on the center and then going to the step back, or the little short attack dive to the basket that they created on that pocket pass. You knew the options. There's so much more, like, variability and just kind of this, like, good randomness in the Maxey Embiid mix that I think is going to be tougher for defenses to pick up.
Yeah, and plus they're so much more athletic than past years. I mean, you look at the bench, like the bench in particular. I mean, you had guys like Niang coming off the bench, and then and then a couple years ago, Danny Green. I mean, Danny Green was a nice veteran, but this team is so much more athletic. And just one more quick question here. We didn't really touch on the coaching. I mean, how big a factor do you think Nick Nurse is going to be?
Yeah, I think huge, to be honest. That I think that might even be my number one argument for why I think this team could be different. That Nick Nurse is a proven champion, a guy who has won at all levels, dating back to his time in Europe, his time in the G League. He won a championship in the NBA in his first year with the Toronto Raptors, which is impressive stuff there. And like, he's been dealt a difficult hand this year with the injuries, with all the guys in and out of the lineup, and the roster changed. I mean, think about at the start of this season, James Harden was still technically on the Sixers. That PJ Tucker started a couple games for this year at the start of the year, and how much turnover has gone through. But now this is his time to kind of go into that chess battle. That, like, I know it was the San Antonio Spurs, so like, wasn't quite the high level playoff team that you would hope for, but that victory that they had in double overtime against them really stands out in my brain, as far as we saw Nick Nurse drawing up 2 just perfect after the timeout plays to create looks, one for the tie game and then one that Oubre missed right at the buzzer. That it's like, that's why that dude can outcoach anybody. And Spoelstra is going to be a tough one in the opening round, but you look beyond that, I don't see a single coach, especially in the Eastern Conference, that I think he's not head and shoulders better than. And I think that applies league wide. So Nick Nurse is the real deal, and I think he's going to truly shine and show that during this run.
Yeah, I would like to see Nick Nurse versus Doc Rivers, but I'm not. What's crazy though is maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but the way Milwaukee's fallen off, and with Giannis's health, I'm not so sure they're definitely going to beat the Pacers. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you there. That I think the Pacers absolutely have a chance in that playoffs or in that series for sure. Again, the Giannis injury is going to be an X factor for them, but I'm kind of the mindset of I think that's the excuse that Doc Rivers has been handed. That I think even if Giannis was at full health, I think this team would give some trouble. So I absolutely think like that's likely a 7-game series. And don't forget, like, these are 2 teams with bad blood, that they've had some beef throughout the regular season, dating back to the play-in or the in-season tournament and a couple other kind of regular season matchups. They've gotten physical. Remember, Giannis had the career high and then was chasing people trying to steal the ball, all that stuff. So that's all in these guys' memories. So I do think this is going to be an entertaining series. I absolutely give the Pacers a chance, and I'm not optimistic about this Bucks team whatsoever.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Indiana can give him a run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because as great as Dame Lillard is, and but I remember when they made that trade, and of course on paper that looked awesome, but I really think that like losing Drew Holiday's defense really hurt that team.
Yeah, totally. And Drew Holiday's a guy that I throw right into that winning player category, that he just does the little things. He makes high impact plays, even if doesn't shine fully in the statistical category. Dame Lillard, like at a point in time, was a guy that's absolutely a ceiling raiser and a guy that can carry a team. I just don't think he is anymore. Like he shot 2 for 13 from the field yesterday. And when it looks bad, it looks really bad. The give and take with Dame is always that he's so good offensively that you can live with him not being quite the best defender. When he's not locked in and playing his best offensively, feels like those defensive issues are even more glaring. And that was the largest reason why Adrian Griffin was fired to start this year, is because of how bad they were defensively. But frankly, I felt bad for Griffin in the sense that should be quick common sense math, that when you go from Drew Holiday to Damian Lillard, your defense is going to get significantly worse there. And by the way, with the Bucks are with a losing record since Doc Rivers came over since that point. So yeah, I do think the wheels are falling off that organization. I do think Damian Lillard might be a little past the point in his career where he can carry a team if Giannis is not able to suit up. And I really don't have a lot of confidence in that team at all.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think about the West? Who's the most dangerous team in the West to you?
Still Denver, unfortunately. I struggle. I like this Thunder team a ton, but I can't see like their struggles on rebounding areas and really just guarding big men is going to be too much to overcome. So I worry about a Lakers matchup with Anthony Davis. And I think even if they do find their way all the way to the finals or to the Western Conference Finals, I see Jokic having a field day against them. So I think Denver is the most dangerous. You can make an argument for a couple other teams in there. The Suns are interesting to me that they've yet to play their best basketball this year. I do think I like their matchup with the Timberwolves in the first round. I think they can win that. The Dallas Mavericks, I also think, are dangerous. That they've been playing their best basketball lately. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving have figured out how to play with each other, and it does feel like they're clicking at the right time. So there's a lot of good teams out there. I do think it's going to be competitive, but I do think Denver has definitely got a little bit of a head and shoulders advantage compared to everyone else.
Yeah. So I was going to say, yeah. So before we get out of here, who do you have coming out? If who do you have coming out of the East, and who do you have coming out of the West? Do you have any predictions yet, or too early?
Yeah, it's tough. I've bounced around a lot. I do think like the consensus is very much Denver and Boston, and I don't want to take the chalk pick exactly there. I'll rock with Denver. I do think the East is going to get shaken up a little. That this Boston team is unbeatable as they've looked all season. It's still, they're so jump shot dependent, and they take as a team, their shot diet is just some tough shots. The Jason Tatum step backs, all those things. So I'm torn. I do think the Sixers get past and get to face Boston. I don't want to say it's the year, but I'm much more optimistic about the Sixers team. I'll go Sixers Denver finals right here. That I think this team's got way more of a fighting chance than a lot of people give them credit.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if it tells you anything, I think when Embiid came back, we were plus 2,700 to go to the finals. Then it dropped to plus 2,200, and now we're at plus 1,600.
Wow. Yeah, and I like that a lot. There's a good signs there. Yeah, I'm optimistic that I do think if everything falls in the right way and things are kind of trending that way with the way the matchups have shaken out, that I feel really good about this team getting past the second round. They got to take care of business. If they play to their best, they focus on themselves. It's all about how the Sixers play. It's not about these other teams. If they play their best ball, they're better than them. So we'll see how things happen when they check rock and play ball.
Yeah, I think we're at a point with Embiid that as long as he's healthy, we know what he's going to give us. I don't think the playoffs are going to change that anymore. I think he's so far, his talent to everybody else and the point he's hit in his career, he's just so much better. I don't think the pressure is going to hold him back anymore. I think as long as we're healthy, and no one in the East has an answer for Embiid.
Yeah, and he hears the noise as well, that he's ready to put kind of this narratives to bed. He wants to get past. He wants it more than anyone. And he kind of went into it a little bit about kind of how he got sent to a little bit of a depression when he got injured this year, how this one hit him specifically because of how well he was playing and how much he liked the team. He has an opportunity to rewrite everything. And for all these guys, I like to point out, with Jokic, it was always the questions that he can't get the job done in postseason until he did. Same with Giannis, that he can't get the job in the postseason until he did. So it all changes once you actually do that. It could be this year for Joel. So I'm leaving that door open for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm old enough to remember when they said Michael Jordan all he did was score and he didn't win because he couldn't get past Detroit. The next thing you know, he wins 6 titles. You know what I mean? So
Hard work pays off.
Yeah, you never know. It's all it takes is one. And I mean, my God, the guy averages more points than minutes played. I mean, that's when you think about it. I mean, like me and Sean are about the same age, so we grew up like watching Barkley, and then you had Iverson. But like, I've never seen a Sixer more talented than this Joel Embiid. I mean, he's the best Sixer I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always take it further than Joe. I think he's the most talented player we've ever seen. Period. Any team, any player. There's no guy ever made like Joel Embiid.
I like that. I'm with it. And again, we need the postseason success to kind of start really hammering those arguments. But I mean, he was well on his way to his 2nd consecutive MVP if he did not get hurt this year. He is a guy that has taken his games to new lengths after winning MVP last year. And it's pretty impressive the way that he does have this guard-like skill in a legitimate 7-foot body, a guy that's just as impactful defensively, the way that he can block shots, protect the rim, and still shift out on the perimeter. So he is something like I've never seen before. I still believe he's still getting better. And I think like his game this year equates to team success in a way that it hasn't in the past. So I hope it's the year. I hope he proves everyone wrong, and I'll be ready to be front row for all of it.
Yeah, and let's hope either this year or the year after or the year after that's the year, because that kid in San Antonio looks like he might. I mean, the things he looks like he's able to do. I mean, that kid's on a whole other level. So if they get him some help, he's going to own this league in about 2-3 years.
Oh yeah,
well, I thought we'd never see another player. He's super. You can go. My bad.
No, you're good. But yeah, he's the real deal, and he's from a mental standpoint seems absolutely built for it from a professional level. All his answers are right. He's locked in. I do think that dude is the truth, and it's going to be a scary sight when he fully hits his prime because he's really good already.
He plays like a veteran.
Yeah.
He's not on that kid level.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just said no one's ever been made like Embiid ever until this kid. No one's ever been made like this kid.
Yeah.
He's like Steph Curry and Embiid combined.
Yeah. It's
alien.
Yeah. Well, listen, Sean, I really appreciate you taking the time, man. And I know you're busy this time of year, and we got some big games coming up. Where can everybody check you out at?
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. You can check me out on Fox Sports The Gambler. We'll be on there throughout the week, 11 to 1 on Saturdays, and sometime in between the 3 and 6 hour with Sean Brace just about every day during NBA season. Also, we'll be going live over on Pick Swap Media from 7 to 9, teaming up with RB Philly Take and DJ Eastwood and Romp over there. So be ripping out a nice 2-hour-long Sixers live stream, breaking down all the playoff stuff and our outlook from here. So I'll be just about as everywhere as I can be for this next stretch. So yeah, Twitter is probably the best way to keep up at Sean_Bernard1.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, man. Go Sixers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right. See you,
man. Thanks for coming on, brother.
See you.
Absolutely.
Later. It was fun, man. I love that. I love that basketball talk, man. I could talk hoops all day, dude.
I need somebody to play like this man right here. Moses,
yeah. Well, yeah, I tell you what.
Paul Reed, if you hear me, step up.
Yeah, hey, I'll tell you what. They're going to need you know what? I missed. Sorry, Mike. I missed this. Mike said trade Embiid. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kidding though. He has such a soft spot for the porcelain doll.
Yeah, but all kidding aside, though, when Diego and I were talking about that on Friday, because we were like, oh man, this team's going to make a run if Embiid's healthy, and then like I was saying, sure as shit, he gets hurt second quarter, and we're like, oh shit. Because as great a player as he is, I mean, the dude's unbelievable, but
he's fragile, dude. He's a fragile guy.
Now, let's get one thing straight. When he falls, doesn't it look like a kid that's stepping on ice for the first time, or like the cartoons where they take his feet out from him and he just lands flat on his ass? Like, that's what worries me, because it's just Embiid, like we said.
I hear you. Well, you know what? When you fall, I want you to think of this guy, Jason Fine. All right. If you're on the job and you fall, you slip on a banana peel, or you I don't know, maybe you're lifting.
Get hit
You're
by
lifting.
steel.
What's that?
Get hit by a piece of steel.
Yeah, well, you know that, Sean. I mean, you work at a place that you have to pick stuff up, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So call Jason
All right.
Fine.
Take this
Big
guy's
Al.
number down then, Sean.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not getting hurt on the job.
Take this down. Take this down, Sean. 1-800-HURT-123. Call my man Jason Fine after you get hit with a piece of metal.
Yeah,
Not only is he
exactly.
located in Philly, you got him in Cherry Hill and Pittsburgh. So
Yeah,
if
you're
any injury needs and all that other stuff, call our man Jason Fine, aka Big Al.
Yeah, and then I got another one here. We're talking about the NBA West. I mean, if you're on, we live out here. If you want to stay up and watch that Lakers game, or you want to watch that Suns game, you might need some coffee to stay awake. Or you might need some coffee the next day because you didn't get any sleep. So if you want some good coffee, check out Monkey's Cold Coffee. You could use the promo code OOTBS Sports at monkeycoldcoffee.com. So make sure you check that John out. But yeah, that was great, man. So hopefully the Sixers go on a run because that's what we're all hoping for. And then but how about we got another team that has a chance for the playoffs too. Philadelphia Flyers. Yeah. Now, I think I was reading. I think they only have like maybe a 6% chance, supposedly, according to the odds.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at it here,
well, don't they need Pittsburgh, need Detroit, and need the Capitals all to lose tonight?
Yeah, except I don't know if the Capitals. I'm not 100% sure if the Capitals matter because the Capitals will go up by 2, but if the Flyers hold the tiebreaker, then if the Flyers beat them, well, you know what? No, they do because the Flyers would have to beat them in regulation. If Washington wins, because then Washington would get a point tonight.
Right.
No, wait a minute.
What? If they lose today, then against the Flyers when they play the Flyers, if all them three teams lose, the Flyers just got to beat the Caps, whether it's in regulation or in shootouts, right?
Yeah.
If the Caps win tonight, then you need Pittsburgh to lose.
You have to win
Pittsburgh
outright.
to lose. Caps can win, but then you have to beat them outright.
Yeah. Because all right. So I'm looking at it here. Detroit. Here's where I think they're going to get screwed. Detroit's got back-to-back games with Montreal. They host Montreal tonight, and they're at Montreal tomorrow. I think Detroit win. Detroit probably. Although who knows?
It's hockey, dude. It's hard to play a team back-to-back and beat them in hockey.
That's true.
If anything, I'm more scared that Pittsburgh finds a way to beat the Predators. Then their last game against the Islanders don't even matter to the Islanders.
Yeah, see that's where we need the Pens. Yeah, you're right. We need the Pens to go 1-1, and like you said, you know what? We actually want the Islanders to lose. I think we want the Islanders to lose tonight because if the Islanders win, they clinch the 3rd seed. But if the Islanders lose, then to avoid the wild card, if they want to stay 3rd, then they'd want to beat Pittsburgh tomorrow night.
Right.
Tomorrow night. So here's the scenario. We got Detroit hosts Montreal, plays at Montreal. Penguins host Nashville, and then they play at the Islanders. Very easily could lose one of those 2 games. And then Washington.
They could probably lose 2 of them because the Nashville Predators are playing good.
Yeah. And Nashville might need it for home ice. I don't have the Western Conference standings in front of me. I got the East. But
okay.
But now Washington hosts Boston. Now Boston needs the game because Boston's only 1 point up on Florida.
Right.
So
right.
There is a chance. I mean, I kind of. After last week, after that 8-game losing streak, I kind of wrote the Flyers off because they got their ass kicked by Montreal. they got their ass kicked by Columbus. They lost a lot of games.
Games they should have won, they lost. You're right.
Yeah, 100%. We just gotta hope tonight all them 3 teams lose. That way tomorrow we control our own destiny. Win and get in.
True.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice to at least have a chance tomorrow, even if we don't make the playoffs, because in essence, if everything works out, then tomorrow basically is a playoff game. It's basically a 1-game playoff.
Yeah.
So even if we didn't win tomorrow, at least it gives.
Are we home versus the Caps in the last game?
Yeah, I think it's here.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like a home playoff game. If everything works out today.
Yeah, in fact, that's actually one of the reasons the Sixers aren't playing tomorrow, because the Flyers are home.
Gotcha.
So the Sixers game has to be Wednesday because, I don't know if that's the sole reason it has to be Wednesday, but
makes sense.
The Sixers couldn't play tomorrow because the Flyers are here.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Does.
So, all right. Well, see, I got to be honest. I think the team that's going to fall. I think Detroit's the one that's going to fuck us. And I'll tell you, the other night they blew a 4-1 lead versus Toronto, and then it went to overtime,
and they won.
And they beat Toronto in overtime. And I think that could be really huge. It's a shame they didn't only get 1 point out of that.
Right.
That the Brink kid and that Cider kid, Cider, dude, they're good. It's like a 1-2 punch for Detroit, like you said. So,
well, you know what though, Montreal did beat the Flyers a few times, and even though they're out of it, they are all about hockey up there. So who knows, man? Maybe.
And what, you don't think Montreal knows that they're playing Detroit twice, and Detroit needs to win both games to get into the playoffs? And they're
they definitely want.
That's what I mean. Let's screw somebody on the way out.
They want to take that lunch. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. That's always a good thing. At the end of these seasons, these teams that have nothing to play for sometimes just want to spoil some shit. It happens in football all the time.
Yeah, and it kind of helps out the opposing team, like the Flyers. You know what I mean? Which works out, even though you don't think it will, but it's always good for that spoiler game or surprise game. But yeah.
Hang on, I got a comment here.
Okay.
Montreal hated Detroit. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. They don't have good. They hate each other already, and these games are super important. It got Detroit 1-1 written all over it.
Good. Bring it.
Yeah, but I think, but it has to be a regulation law. If Detroit goes to overtime, then that would give them 3 points, which would give them 90.
Oh, so I know. Right.
So we need Montreal to beat them, and we need Montreal to beat them in regulation one of these games.
We need Predators, Montreal, and Caps all to lose tonight. That would be our best scenario, I think. Then tomorrow, like I said, it's just beat the Caps and get in. Don't matter where you beat them.
It shall happen.
And I'm rooting against the Islanders too, just to maybe give them something, because in case Pittsburgh does beat Nashville, give the Islanders something to play for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Although they may not even care, but you never know. I don't. The Islanders are at the Devils today. Well, the Devils could beat them.
Yeah.
To your point, the Devils might be a little pissed off that they didn't make the playoffs. So they might be like, we want to go out on a bang.
I agree.
Damn right.
Tell you, that just goes to show you how unpredictable hockey is. Because, if you looked at the NHL last year, I think the Devils actually made a nice little run too. And then now this year, they don't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, hockey's
out for the season. Yeah, it's like a roller coaster.
Even though I think even if the Flyers get in, it's a first round exit in 5 games.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, if the Flyers do get in, I think we would play the Rangers because the Rangers have the number 1 record.
Yeah, I think any of them top teams smash us. We don't. The problem with the Flyers is we don't score on the power play. Our power kill is pretty good, but the playoffs is all decided on special teams in hockey. Just
Yeah.
like in football, it's decided by turnovers. You know what I mean? And it's like that's what it's decided by. Flyers can't score on the power play. They're not going to beat anyone in the playoffs because 5-on-5 hockey is very tight. Come playoff time.
Yeah, and like you said, the playoffs is a different animal. I mean, I'll tell you one thing: the Flyers have played well against the Rangers this year. I mean, they've been in just about every one of those games. But that being said, the playoffs is a different animal. I mean, I wouldn't like our chances against the Rangers, but we have played them well.
Yeah.
Never say never.
And actually,
anyone that makes the playoffs in hockey has a chance. It's just if you're realistically looking at Flyers versus the Rangers, talent-wise and special teams, they're so much better than us.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm saying the Rangers, but that's actually not decided. The Rangers are only 1 point up on Carolina. Carolina, now you talk about two red-hot teams. Carolina's 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 5 in a row. The Rangers are 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 1 in a row. So it could be Carolina even,
Right. Mm-hmm.
True.
Let's see here. Mike Laura says Boston had 118 points last year and lost in round 1. Yeah, that's true. Well, Florida beat them, but I totally hear you, Mike, and I agree with you. And
Florida still had mad good players on their team last year.
Well, that's what I was about to say. And Florida was the first seed the year before, and they got upset.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, Florida has good players on their team. Look at them again this year.
Same thing. Yeah.
3 years, great seasons.
Yeah. Florida has 108 points this year. They're only a point behind Boston.
Yeah, they're good as shit. So that shows you for the last 3 seasons, even though they've been one of the best in first place, then 8th place, and first place, they're a solid team.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, they were the 8th seed last year.
Well, hey, listen. There's nothing I wouldn't mind seeing more than seeing. Think about how fun the next week would be if it's Sixers Knicks and then on the opposite nights it's Flyers Rangers.
Yeah, it'd be fucking sick.
I'll tell you what. I mean, we're looking for that you talk. That's like a sports overload, and then and not just that, but you got Sixers Knicks, Flyers Rangers, and then you got NFL Draft next Thursday.
Yep. Will be a crazy week.
Mike Lauro says Dallas Stars are winning it all.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about the rest of hockey to know who's going to win it all. I just know about the Flyers.
Like to Mike's point about the Bruins having 118 points last year. I mean, hockey is just so unpredictable. I mean, you can kick everybody's ass all year long, and then the playoffs come, and next thing you know, another team gets a hot goalie, and you're just screwed.
You're a chump. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like if you had to play a team like the Lightning, who still have all that experience on their team, like Kucherov, Stamkos, the goalie who's a beast, Vasilevsky, Hedman.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be scared to play a team like that. Hockey experience.
They have that playoff experience, veteran leadership. It's that's a 1-2 potent combo. It's awesome, like you said.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Tampa Bay Lightning made a run with all that experience.
They're built for it, like you said, and that's a perfect recipe. Yeah, but it would be nice to see like the underdogs, teams that you don't think, like the Flyers and whoever else, kind of come out of nowhere and shock the world.
Yeah,
I like seeing upsets. It's just like March Madness. The Cinderellas. But yeah,
right.
Yeah, you could even see a team like I'm looking at the Western Conference standings here.
Mm-hmm.
A team like when the playoffs come, a team like the Predators could get hot, or a team like the.
How about the Vegas Knights?
That's who I just wanted to bring up. Something came up on my phone. Yeah, they won like 2 games. Like, yeah, and they're back in the playoffs, as a matter of fact.
Well, actually, the night. Let me look at this for a second. So you got 1, 2, 3. Predators are the first wild card. You know what's funny? The returning Stanley Cup Golden Knights are actually the 8 seed.
The 8 seed.
Yeah, they're
Right. So, I mean, I'm sure their team is still a pretty good team. They had a long run last year, maybe a little bit of tired legs this year. But why would they not be able to turn it on? See, that's an 8 seed that could probably turn it on compared to like the Flyers. They just don't got it. They don't have enough star power or enough experience to win this playoff series yet.
Wow. Actually, I'm looking at this right now. Boy, this Western Conference is going to be a bloodbath. I mean, you got right now the Golden Knights. Well, you know what? The Golden Knights are only 1 point. All right, it could either be the Kings or the Golden Knights. There's only one. See, it's too hard because the Golden Knights have 96 points. The Kings have 97. So the Kings could wind up the 8th seed too. You know what I mean?
True. Yeah. True.
But just say hypothetically, if everything goes to chalk, right now you'd have Golden Knights against the Stars. I'll tell you what, if I'm the Stars, I kind of really don't want any parts of the Golden Knights in round 1. That's
nah.
Yeah, I agree.
Once again, leadership, coaching, and past playoff presence. You know, they've been there. They know what to expect. Yeah.
And then
it should be interesting.
And then the other thing with hockey too is you never know. Like you got a team like the Edmonton Oilers. Like what if this is the year that like Connor McDavid has like the most has some unbelievable playoff run where all of a sudden he's just like, scores like 25 goals or 20 goals, whatever, and 18 goals, whatever. I mean, he wouldn't score 25, but you know what I mean? Like just some crazy run,
Yeah, or imagine the 1 seed in the East. if it's the Caps or the Caps or Pittsburgh, you're playing against one of the all-time greats who can easily light you up for like 6 goals in a series.
Damn right. Yeah.
So there's no easy W's for anybody in hockey.
Yeah. There's no easy path. Yeah.
Mike Lauro says Las Vegas has too many injuries. All right. Well, they're banged up. Well, that's probably one of the reasons why they're only an 8 seed, 7 or 8 seed.
Yeah, I know they were high out there early in the season. They're one of the best teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you know how hockey is, dude. Even with injuries, like the hockey's, I feel like
unpredictable.
And hockey's a sport where I feel like it's not like the NBA. Like Joel Embiid goes down, like the Sixers are fucked. Like you might as well just quit. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like hockey, like you could lose like one of your really good players, but the other guys kind of step up. Like say you play really great defense or your goalie stands on his head, you could win some of them games. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So all right, well, all right, before we move on here, what 6% chance to get in? Do the Flyers get the help they need? Do they get in?
No.
Okay, Sean?
Nah. One of these teams won 2 in a row. There's too. We're asking for too much.
I want to believe it, but nah.
All right, I hate to say it, I kind of agree with you. Honestly, I think Boston beats. I think Washington loses to Boston. It wouldn't shock me if Pittsburgh lost to Nashville. But I think they're going to get fucked because of Detroit. I think Detroit's going to beat Montreal twice, and I think that's what's going to do them in.
Could definitely see that.
And that's a damn shame. Flyers should have found a way to get one of them.
Yeah, they did it to themselves. If anything, I don't even feel bad for the Flyers.
No, you just got to regroup and get ready for next year. You got that Russian goalie. The draft, sign a couple of players. Key players that are on the team and call it a day.
Yeah. So, all right. But before we get out of here, because we'll get in, I wanted to get into some draft talk, but we'll do a lot more draft next week because the draft's coming up next Thursday. So we'll get a lot of draft talk and, Phillies, we'll get into more Phillies as the weeks go on. I mean, and by the way, any baseball fans out there, tomorrow night at 7, make sure you check out Extra Innings. We'll have our second episode. Myself and Dave Yarnell will go over the whole league. So we'll get a little bit of Phillies tomorrow, but we'll be breaking out the whole Major League Baseball. But before we get out of here, what's your guys' thoughts on this? Howie Roseman once again, beating the NFL to the punch, signing the Slim Reaper to a what was it, a 4-year deal?
4
3
years,
years,
75 mil.
4 years,
4 years, 75 mil guarantee.
51 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
He deserved it.
He damn right he deserves it, man.
Yeah, that's what, it's not even that big of news because I feel like it's something that we all knew Howie was going to do. Like we knew he was getting locked up.
Well, the whole thing was, when were they going to do it? Could it be during the draft, after the draft,
Right.
beginning of the season, training camp? Now, moving forward, like all three of us said, you have him signed. There's no headaches. He can go into camp knowing that he has this contract and just get ready for the season. We're not pulling teeth and pulling punches. We got,
and he's not upset.
guy.
And there's no like contract negotiations, players getting upset. Like,
you go into camp happy and ready for next season. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He was built. He was made to be in this city.
Yeah,
I agree.
He's a blue collar dude. He's quiet, and you can throw everything in the kitchen sink to him, and he'll catch it. And he goes into dangerous territory, which is linebacker land.
Yep.
And he gets cracked, and he gets up, dust is off, and goes back to the huddle. That's what you want, And he's not that big of a dude, but I'll be damn sure his hands are big as shit, and he catches everything, like I said, the kitchen sink. He's just that great wide receiver that runs great routes, and we all can agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
First off, just make sure you don't have him out as a lead blocker on screens anymore.
No.
Let's hopefully Kellen Moore don't do that shit.
Yeah, I think Kellen Moore he's not going to do that shit.
No, I think we're going to see more, like all three of us said, more tight end, more motion, and under the center. You know what
the problem last year is there was no creativity when you ran that play. Like people knew it was coming. So like if you're a creative offensive coordinator and there's a key position where you need 1 yard, but you don't use this play a lot, it can be used some fucking times. We ran it like 4 times a game.
Yeah, that was the problem. You're right.
It's like, okay, he's running there. We know it. Now
people were sitting on it. They were sitting on that play.
They were looking at that tablet Diego and saying Diego's going this way. Yeah,
exactly. Kellen Moore he should be. From what we've seen in Dallas, he's good enough to manipulate plays like that, set you up for plays like that, making other plays look like that, and then it's not that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Last year was so like cut and clear. I knew a screen was coming. I don't know shit about football when it comes to X's and O's. You know what I mean? Like running plays, and I'd be like, all right, screen, 3rd and 2, all right, screen. Like we knew it. So
now with motion, like I told Joey, look at the 49ers. They ran motion great. Packers. Now you kind of mix it up. It's like, are they going there? Now I think this season moving forward, we're going to make people think of the next play. Not
like Steichen. Steichen ran them plays sometimes. It's just he mixed it up and he threw them in there when they should be thrown in there. They shouldn't be in your everyday playbook on every drive. It should be a sprinkled in play.
Exactly. And I don't want to see A.J. Brown as the number 1 read. You got all these guys moving forward. Check your downs and get the other guys involved. Not AJ. But that's for another time to talk. But yeah.
Well, all right. So, and I think the other big thing about signing Devontae too is like he signed before T. Higgins, before Justin Jefferson, before CeeDee Lamb. Before Jamar Chase.
Yeah, all the big guys. Yeah.
So the bottom line is, in 2-3 years, his contract isn't going to look as high as it is now. But
right.
But if there is a concern though, now Howie Roseman's great at the cap, and the cap seems to go up all the time. But may they run into a problem in a few years that they have so many resources tied up into offense between the offensive line, the quarterback, both wide receivers are going to be making over $25 million. So is there a concern that they're not going to have enough resources and money to stack the defense? Or do you think, they're really putting a lot of eggs into drafting well on defense?
I was going to say, you got to draft good. That's what it's going to come down to.
And
that's what's going to come down to. You invest your money. You invest your money on the offensive side of the ball, then you already know you're going to have some players play over their contract. You know what I mean? And you're going to have to hit in the draft. What's that dude we drafted the 1 year? What's that dude we reached for the 1 year from Smith?
What position?
What year?
The linebacker was the.
Oh, Marcus Smith.
Yeah, can't be taking guys like that when all your money's on the offensive side of the field. You know what I mean? You have to hit on every pick.
No,
you have to get.
No, you yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, you can't be drafting Sidney Jones.
Exactly.
You can't be drafting the line. Who the Davion Taylor in the third round? Like,
right.
You got to get guys that are going to be on this team, like you said, not a guy that played senior year and then played for Colorado. No, like you said, you got to get these guys, and you got to address the needs. Linebacker, second round. I mean, we'll talk about it more, But yeah, I just hope they have a lights out draft. Really.
You know what you got to do? You basically got to follow the Kansas City Chiefs blueprint. Kansas City Chiefs were really, think about it. They lost the 2020 Super Bowl. Their defense was, they had a little bit of age on their defense. They lost some, they had the Honey Badger was their best player one of their best players on defense. Lost some of those guys. What did they do? They went into the draft. They rebuilt their whole secondary in like 2 drafts. They drafted
McDuffie.
A few other guys, and that's what the Philadelphia Eagles need to do. Philadelphia Eagles need to draft extremely well and really retool this defense.
Yeah.
Damn right. I can't wait to talk about it next week. Yeah.
Well, next week's show, hopefully, hopefully the Flyers are in the playoffs. Hopefully the Sixers already have a lead in the series, and then we'll get into a lot of draft talk. So, all right, what do you think, guys? I guess we'll wrap up here. But all right, we'll see you all next week. Go Sixers! It's funny. We're like jumping ahead of ourselves. Are we all just assuming we're going to beat Miami? Any of you guys concerned about this game? I mean, it is a little bit of the concern of one game versus Jimmy Butler. A little bit, I'll tell you.
I think before we go, I think Joel Embiid with his being out with his injury, I think he has a bad taste in his mouth, and he's going to show up. And moving forward, we need to get the hell out of that second round. Enough of this second round exit bullshit. That's my thoughts.
We got to get past them. I mean, we're 7 seed, so in reality, we might even be. I think we'll be. That'll be interesting. I'll bet you we're favorites versus the Knicks. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it,
we will be. We will be for the series. We'll be the favorite.
Yeah.
We'll probably be giving them points in New York.
Wouldn't shock me.
As a 7 seed, don't be surprised. Sixers are minus 2.5 to open that series in the first game.
Huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say either that or it's like a pick 'em. You know what I mean? But yeah,
I think there's no way they're favored on us. Not when basketball is all about stardom. They're the best player in the world on our team. There's no way they're going to be the favorite on us.
I need my man Ricky Council to step it up. If you hear me,
I don't think he even plays, Sean.
Yeah, they'll find some minutes for him. I think it depends on him. You're probably right, Jeff. He's probably a Daniel House type player off the bench.
Yeah, my guy Daniel House.
Danny for 3.
Real quick, let me just get 3 of these comments and then we'll bounce. Maurice Wright says the Eagles are in really good shape to get some key players in this year's draft. Totally agree. Hopefully he's the right one. Jazz Cruz says go Sixers. Go Sixers.
Okay, right.
And Mike Lauro says Embiid breaks his face for the 3rd time.
Don't put it past him,
you gotta be so cold on him, man?
You know what?
I think he took Mike's lunch money, dude.
Mike must have lost a bet where like Embiid got hurt or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of hate for that poor guy.
Mike had a
What
vacation.
JoJo ever do to you?
You know what's funny? Mike probably had a vacation he was getting ready to have paid for. Like actually, it's funny because he was talking about breaking his face. Well, I'm sitting here saying that I'm sitting here thinking maybe the Pacers could possibly upset the Bucks, and if that's the case, and the Sixers beat the Knicks, the Sixers would play Indiana, and Indiana has Siakam. Well, Siakam's the one that elbowed Embiid to the eye a couple years ago.
Yeah, it might be time for Embiid to return that favor.
Yeah, well,
Exactly. Little.
Yeah, hopefully, Embiid bobs and weaves like Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? Stays out of there.
Do what Steve Martin did in The Jerk.
I know, right? So,
Yeah.
all right, everybody. Well, let's go. Let's go Sixers. Let's go Flyers. Phillies, start hitting the damn ball. We'll get in a little Phillies.
Change the roster, Topper. Change the roster.
All right, we'll see you all next week. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.